Hello everyone, and welcome to The Great Apostate. I hope you're doing well. Well, this video is probably going to be my last foray into the Lloyd Evans saga. And I'm trying to maintain some kind of, a degree of impartiality, even though apparently I am one of the litigants, which I hope I'm not, because I've been sued before. It wasn't particularly pleasant, and I'd rather not have to go through it again, especially for what I would certainly regard, and I think any court would regard as fair comment. But we will see. We will see. I mean, as my old dad used to say, he's still with us, but he's just old. You can't get feathers off a frog. So, if Lloyd wants a lot of money, he's not going to get it because I don't have much. If it comes to it, I suppose I might try to set up some kind of fundraiser to try fund my defence, and hope that this channel can maybe help me out. But that's a long way in the way, it's the future, so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this because this was sent to me recently. Now, as you know, one of the main litigants is a lady called Kim Silvio. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting Kim. She's in my last video. She's over here on holiday, and because she's a bit of a Titanic nut, and she arranged to contact me, and we arranged to meet up. My family took her away for the day, so we had a nice day then. But anyway, so this was something that Kim posted online regarding Lloyd. Lloyd, if you're reading this, let's end this. I'm tired of your BS, and I'm tired of your arrogant, stubborn behaviour. Issue a copy of the documents you lodged with the court to the community, and if you have any valid points, the other members of the Magnificent Seven and I will do a live stream outlining the valid points. Make the necessary corrections and apologise. So, I mean, that seems fair. After that, you're welcome to continue with your court proceedings as you planned. If it is the case, as I suspect, that your case is full of manufactured truths and BS, then we can all know and forget about this farcical attempt to bulldoze the community. You are correct in your comment on YouTube. You know it's fodder. If it had any fact or basis, no one would be able to mock it. Now, I do think one thing, I have mentioned this before in another live stream with Joel with the VA. I did think that this does seem very retributive. Over the years, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, myself included, Lloyd included, have said some pretty hard stuff about the Jehovah's Witnesses. They've never even contacted me. Not a word. This is going to annoy me. My eyebrows look like they've been parted with a razor, but they have not. We've said some pretty rough stuff about the Jehovah's Witnesses, but they've never even contacted me. And to be quite frank, I mean, I'm sure some of the stuff we've said could be considered libelous, could certainly have been taken to court over. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, for better or worse, stayed above the fray. And I think there's always a danger when you get into the mud that you end up getting dirty. So here's Lloyd's reply. I note you are issuing me with a challenge having ignored, at least I believe this is Lloyd's reply. I am led to believe. If it's not Lloyd's reply, let me know. I will remove it. You got to keep yourself from getting sued these days. I note that you're issuing me with a challenge, having ignored the challenge I gave you to prove your credentials as a retired lawyer, i.e. the claim you made to endanger the trust of not just yourself but other ex-J activists and many abuse survivors. I predicted months ago when I made the challenge that you would ignore it, because whether you prove your credentials or admit to lying about them, you're left in a worse position than before. You dodged the issue entirely, as I predicted. Your followers let you get away with doing so, as I also predicted, and now you have the gall to issue a challenge to me. Cat can look at a queen, Lloyd. People can issue you a challenge. It sounds that came across as a little bit like, who was it? Artaxerxes whipping the sea because it bashed his boats when he was trying to beat the Greeks. It does come across like, how dare you issue a challenge to me? So I didn't like that. Kim, you have hurt, violated, and damaged me beyond words. Well, that is tragic if true. Even if I recover and ultimately outgrow ex-JW activism as you have foreseen, I will never ever forget what you did to me. You have driven me to taking a prescribed 125 milligrams of antidepressant tablets every day, plus supplemental tablets including diazepam, Valium. If that's true, that would be tragic indeed. I'm not too sure that antidepressants work though. My brain chemistry and physiology is altered because of you. The stress you have inflicted through your gross invasion of the privacy of both myself and, he names his wife, not to mention your ongoing defamation crusade, which you wage alongside the rest of your magnificent seven, has been a major factor in my loss of appetite and body mass. So you've lost some weight from it. Good for you. As have I. Feel better about it, don't you? You know, a little less pain. Joints a little better. So get jogging too, Lloyd. It's excellent. Or even long walks, because jogging hurts the knee at our age. You're a little bit younger than me, though. When I look in the mirror, now I see lines and grey hairs I don't remember seeing before January 31st. Well, I can imagine that's very true. I mean, I went through a similar experience that Lloyd has gone through with someone really horrendously abusing me for some time. Two people, actually. One of them apologised. One of them continues to do it, believe it or not. God love him. Failed though it is, as hinted at by the obvious and increasing desperation and fanaticism you display on social media, your campaign of hatred, insinuation and disinformation very nearly bankrupted the company I use to produce content, which, apart from being a blow to XJW advocatism, well, don't be getting too excited. You're not that big in XJW activism. It will exist without you. It existed long before you in a much better and more wholesome form. And in the old days of H2O and before and those days, it will exist after you, and I suspect in a much better form then. Yes, despite it, which apart from being a blow to XJW advocatism, would have left myself, he meant his wife and his employee, unemployed, and my children with no food on the table, or money or for clothing or foods. Well, that presumes you wouldn't get a job, which would make you very lazy, because there's plenty of jobs in the world, my friend. I stopped advocating for JW or against the JWs somewhat. I closed my Patreon account. I didn't close it, actually. You can still do it, I think, but I don't ask. I am now back in debt because of the financial impact of your defamation, in which you falsely claimed that I earned a six-figure salary. Yesterday, when I took when I took my daughter for her haircut so that she can start her first day of school tomorrow. Wonderful. That's a very nice moment. Congratulations. I did so using money that is the bank's, not mine, which would not have been the case if it not for you. Well, that money would have been the XJW communities, because you have got it mostly from them. You have deliberately and vindictively decided to hurt me. You and your followers have hounded and continue to hound me across the internet. I know what that's like. It's unpleasant. You've manipulated dozens, if not hundreds, to hate me and crave my destruction for exploiting the residual self-righteousness, entitlement and judgmentalism that abounds in the Jehovah's Witness religion and lingers in many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses long after they have left. Well, you see, so what he's saying is, it's not really my fault. You're taking a bunch of people who are mentally damaged because of the cult they used to be in, and you are using this against me. That's almost as if there is no blame to lay at your feet. You have to ask yourself, did your own personal behaviour, did that contribute anything to what's happening to you today? I mean, for instance, somebody gets put in jail as a father, and say tragically I had to go to jail for some reason, and then I blamed the process, the accusers, the court, the prosecutors, the prison officers, the police, for damaging my children. Are they responsible for damaging my children? Well, again, if I'm guilty, perhaps not. Okay, you have established a precedent whereby any future or existing ex-JW advocates who grows their audience beyond a certain threshold can expect to be betrayed, bullied, violated, cancelled and vilified. Not true. Just, keep a high moral standard. You're a cruel, calculated, and be a nice person, contriving person, and I hate myself for being such a poor judge of characters to ever trust you or allow you into my life, let alone let you meet my children. There's no possible way I can ever forgive you or erase what you have done from my memory. Okay, well that's a really important point, because he says, I hate myself for being such a poor judge of character. We're all poor judge of characters, right? We're all imperfect. We're all human, but it's very important to remember that don't just assume that the poor judge of character moment is something that suits you. Oh my goodness, if only I hadn't have trusted that person, then I wouldn't have been betrayed. Ask yourself, what have I done as well that's wrong? What else have I done that's wrong? Be a bit, but look inside yourself and say, could I have done this better? And I think you will find the abyss is looking out of you, unfortunately. Okay, you say let's end this. I say this ends when I want it to end, in underlined. And you need to understand that I am in this for the long haul. What you've done to me is so severe and far-reaching that I will commit however many months, years, or even decades of my life as needed to make sure you're held accountable for the violation you have inflicted and goaded others to inflict on me. In a few years, I celebrate my birthday, he doesn't say. He does say, but I'm not saying. If I am still pursuing you for justice when I am 53, 63, 73, 83, so be it. Okay, so he's in it for the long haul. Sorry, the lights are changing on my camera. So he's in it for the long haul. He's very angry. It really does come across that he feels very bitter. And if innocent, I could certainly see why he would be. He made a very adequate living through the ex-JW community. He got to travel. He was well regarded, lauded. He had, international visits, and it must be. It's a hard fall. It's a hard fall for him, and for that I have some sympathy. Because you don't like to see anyone suffer. But again, you've got to ask yourself how did the suffering come about? Yummy. This is not some game, nor am I remotely interested in furnishing you or your fellow fanatics material for your live streams, or helping you correct the many untrue things you've said about me. Fact-checking claims and accusations about somebody's private life is something you need to do before you make them public, in a way that you can cause that person damages and loss. Well, see, that's not strictly true. It depends on the country you're talking about. So I believe in his country, he doesn't need to prove this. He just needs to say, I've been slandered, and then the other person has to prove the opposite. But in most countries, that's not the case. And for instance, in the UK, if a judgment was held against you in a foreign country that had a demonstrably poor legal system or poor precedent like that, you can actually appeal to the High Court, quite simply, for protection from any kind of claims against you, and saying, listen, I have not been told what I did wrong, and it's pretty simple, because you think about it, it's a bit like it's a little bit like what are you talking about? Kind of like the Dreyfus affair, almost, it's this kind of like a legal system. You're not told what you did wrong, and you have to prove you didn't do it, and then you go, what did I do? And they say, you don't need to know that. Given that all you have done, given all that you have done to me and all those that I care about, I am under no obligation to help you reveal my legal strategies, true, or otherwise indulge you in any way whatsoever. You insult my intelligence for even asking. My lawyers will be given all the time in the world to file their case with the court properly, no matter how infuriatingly slow the legal process. If they tire for any reason, I will hire new lawyers. If I somehow lose this case, which I do not see happening, I'm going to paraphrase the rest, I will either appeal in the same court or sue you in another jurisdiction. I will fly to Australia and show up in court there if I have to. There will be no JW style agape, no forgive and forget. You may be tired, but I am wide awake, and I have every motivation for all the reasons listed above to chase this to my dying breath. Well, see, that's there will be no JW style agape, no forgive and forget. That kind of says a lot about it, doesn't it? There's an intent here to burn every bridge, and we in this ex-JW thing have criticised the Jehovah's Witnesses rightfully for many things, but when you come out and you quite openly state that I'm going to be worse, significantly worse than the JWs would ever dream of being, well, okay. So you have my answer. I suggest you hire a good Croatian lawyer and hunker down for a long, drawn-out legal battle, given that you have refused the offer of an out-of-court settlement. Since you have made defaming and bullying me almost a full-time job, perhaps you can set up your own Patreon and find people that are willing to pledge money to your utterly negative and hateful cause, rather than simply paying lip service from the safety of anonymous social media. Pardon me. In the meantime, I will continue to expose Jehovah's Witnesses and all the abusive cult-like groups, and do so in a way that is positive, respectful and uplifting, without seeking to shame, cancel or expose. Well, when you talked about, was it Tony Tightpants, was it? The one who brought out all the whiskey in his when he was buying whiskey? Was that let me see, not seeking to shame or expose anyone? Was that respectful and uplifting? Doesn't feel that way to me. There will be no tit-for-tat exchanges, no more challenges. I didn't know you well enough before, but I know who you are now. I know your psychology, I know your tactics, I know what you stand for. I also know that you've not succeeded in what you set out to do, despite coming very close. And I think you know you have failed too. If you have anything further to say to me, put it in writing to my lawyers, if you want to receive the slightest attention. Otherwise, I'll see you in court. Well, signed, Lloyd Evans. Well, I'll just close my computer. That is the situation with Lloyd at the moment. He's certainly very, very angry. And if he's innocent, he's, I suppose he has a right to be angry. The problem is he innocent? What has he done to cause this anger? And I think a lot of us know the situation where the accusations and the admissions of his behaviour, of the use of prostitutes, it's all pretty gross, it's pretty seedy, but ultimately the victims, once again, are his family. We are not the victims. People who paid his money to him, they consider themselves victims if they wish. But the victims are his family. The victims his wife and his children. They should be left alone in peace to manage. And I think forgive and forget is probably the best way to achieve that, to be quite honest. But either way, we'll see what happens. Again, all I would say is consider who you give your money to. Consider very carefully who you give your money to in the XJW community, because back when I left the witnesses, the big guy on the scene was the ex-governing body member Raymond Franz, and Raymond Franz was an example of absolute kindness and fidelity and love and generosity of spirit, and he probably got some money out of the XJW community as it was back then, but no one begrudged him it. And I would like to think that when you leave your legacy on this earth, that people don't think that you used and abused others. That's probably my biggest hope. Well, guys, thank you very much for this video. I'm going to be changing the channel up very, very soon. I'll be completely moving away from Jehovah's Witness things. I'll be moving on to things that interest me. So I'll be talking about politics and religion, which still interests me. I'll be talking about all the things of the day. We'll talk about the clot shot. It's great, best thing ever. We'll be talking about all manner of things. So I hope you watch the videos. Look forward to seeing you. Like and subscribe. If you like and subscribe, take care.